work session for the Cochise County Board of Supervisors. Today is Thursday, February 20th, 2025. Pursuant to ARS 38431.02H, the public will have access to the meeting room 15 minutes prior. They'll also be able to attend online or over the phone. Any item on this agenda is open for discussion. Members of the board will attend either in person or by telephone, video, or internet conferencing. Work sessions are a time for the county staff to inform and discuss agenda items with the Board of Supervisors, and public comments will not be taken. We'll begin with a roll call. District 1.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Crosby is here.
Crosby, District 2.
Gomez is here.
Gomez is here. District 3, Antonori is here. For the record, Ms. Gomez and Antonori are in person, and Mr. Crosby is attending by Microsoft Teams. Introductions, I guess, well, let's just go to Ms. Gilman. I guess you can kick us off with agenda item number 1.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So members of the board, this is our now regular meeting to review the future board meeting that's next week on Tuesday. Before you'll see a draft agenda. It's the stapled document on the table there. It's a draft agenda for the regular board meeting at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. As typical, we have the call to public. We will have a presentation by Ms. Veda Phelps, the Executive Director of the Arizona at Work, Southeastern Arizona. She does this annually. She provides an annual report to the board. This is a routine that she does for us every year to give a presentation to the County Board of Supervisors on their annual report.
Who funds her?
She receives funding through, I believe, that's a very good question. I'm blanking at the moment. Through, I think, various counties as well.
So she's a state
and Cochise she serves. So, yeah.
A state employee? She's not one of ours.
No, she's not ours.
No, okay. All right. That's all I was just trying to get to.
She's her own organization.
Okay.
I'm
Gotcha.
sorry, because I'm trying to follow you. Is this, this is it here?
Yeah.
It's the wrong power. Okay. This is the one you have here, right? It's
Right.
here, here. Mine. Okay, gotcha. Very so sorry. All right. A lot of papers in front of you, so. And then we go through the consent agenda. Any questions on anything that you see there?
So are we can just review the demands.
Right, you'll have that tomorrow by noon. Well, usually around noon.
All
when
right.
we post the agenda.
I don't see anything there. That's fine. Okay.
Development services. This will be a public hearing on 2 matters that have been through the Planning and Zoning Commission. One is a rezone of a tax parcel, and the other is an appeal of the Planning and Zoning's denial.
Oh, that was the one we did. Is that the one we did in the other one?
Nope, these are new, I believe.
These are new?
Mhm.
So which one is the appeal to the denial by the
Number
Planning and Zoning?
5.
Number 5.
And so you'll have those materials on the attachments in Agenda Quick. You can review those materials.
So be there when?
They're
They're
there
now?
now.
Okay.
They're there now, yeah. And Matthew Taylor is here if you have any general questions about that process. But again, we can't deliberate on those matters.
Yeah. So the thing here at Cherokee Trail is, I'm trying to figure out, is where's that at? Is that that's not the guy at the end of the Ocotillo Road that we, no, it's a
No,
different,
Mr.
different guy.
Kerr.
Okay. That's what I was,
Yeah, it's right off of Mescal Road,
off of Mescal.
Meadowlark
All right.
and Cherokee Tequila Trail.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll get a brief from you during the meeting. I just want to go do some homework on it before. Appreciate it.
This is in District 3? You're
Yeah.
taking?
Yeah. Well, the number 5 is, I don't know where number 4 is. Where's number 4?
District 2.
It's yours.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And then into the action items, Supervisor Gianori, we still have
I'm
the.
sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but on number 4, can you guys give us if it passed by the planning and zoning committee, by how much? And
It'll be in the brief, when you
It'll be
brief
in
it,
the-
right? Yeah, when they
Okay.
brief it on the meeting, yeah.
okay.
So at number 6, that we moved from the previous agenda to this one. I don't know if it's ready to go yet. The resolution regarding early voting and mail-in ballots by 5 p.m. on Friday.
Mm.
That's on.
If you would like me to,
No,
make it-
no,
if you would
I'm-
like me to help you with that, I
I
can.
just, for some reason, my PTSD or whatever the hell issues I have, I keep forgetting. I
You're
forget,
busy, so
forgetting to get to that, you know.
should we leave it there or should we move it?
No, leave it there. That's, I like burning platforms to work towards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't they just,
She vetoed it, but they're going to
Vetoed it.
redo it. They're striking it onto another bill, so it's back.
Okay.
It's back. So they're going to try to take some of the stuff that she complained about in her veto letter off, but she's still probably going to veto it because of
because of it?
because the Secretary of State doesn't like turning mail-in ballots on Friday. So that's a non-negotiable thing. That's the whole point of the bill. The other things in there, she, I guess, listed in her veto letter, she had some concerns with. They're probably going to look at taking those out, but they're really going to get back with it. And that's what we want too. We want
We want that so that you
Yeah.
can turn it in the day out, right?
if we could get help from the counties, and I'll talk to them tomorrow morning when we talk to them in the
Oh, the
morning, because
LGC.
we're also talking about the bill you showed me yesterday,
Mhm.
tomorrow. It's on the agenda for the legislative thing.
Mhm.
I'll bring it up with them. I mean, big counties that have the money and the resources, she again, it's that Maricopa County mindset where they have the money to do 50 people that can do their tabulation and signature verification, all that. We don't have that, right? So it puts rural counties at a huge disadvantage.
Yeah.
So we got to argue it from a rural perspective and kind of let her know that, you know, she's on the ballot in rural counties too. So,
Exactly.
so she's got to think of us out here in the hinterlands of Arizona. All right.
All right. And number 7, similar to last meeting, we have another over-the-counter sales of tax deed properties. So the clerk will present that for the board's approval. They're trickling in now.
Yeah, good. Oh, well, that's good stuff. That's good.
County schools, there's 2 grant applications. I did not see school superintendent, county school superintendent Jackie Clay here. Is she on remote by chance? I don't see her.
What is it? Do you know?
So it's coming from Sulphur Springs Electric to Cochise County
To
Schools?
Cochise County
Okay.
Schools for a program. So,
For the
She'll-
Student Advisory Council?
and I believe she has a PowerPoint presentation on those that'll be attached in Agenda Quick as well. So, and there's background information there. She will be here to present.
That's just a weird amount, right? The next one's 20 grand, but that one's 19,993. You know,
And so then this is another one?
Mhm.
right?
yeah, it's
There's
a different,
grants.
two
Community
different,
share initiative.
yeah, that's fine. That's not tax money. That's good.
County Sheriff has a significant grant for 1.9 million from DPS, and Captain Jardy is here, who would like to hear more about that right now.
Yeah,
Yes,
bring
yeah.
him up. Yep. So explain, we're just trying to get, so you're going to get $2 million for roughly $2 million for services related to deter, apprehend, prosecute, detain, but you guys don't do that now?
It's a continuation grant through local board support to pay for wages and EREs to do those type of, sorry, Mr. Chair. I
No,
didn't
it's
address you
fine. It's
correctly.
fine. It's a work session.
So it's funding to pay wages and EREs for those personnel that do work
Specifically counter drug guys? Is that what they are?
drugs and smuggling
Yeah.
through our
How many-
CJT and
How many personnel does that fund?
roughly 9 deputies and a captain and 2 sergeants positions.
And then that would
And then
be,
there's 120,000 out of that 1.9 that is earmarked for the jail.
how much, I'm sorry?
120,000 out of that 1.9 that's earmarked for the jail for incarceration related stuff.
So 12 people. So do these grants cover all the other ancillary costs included in a full-time employee? It covers their pension,
The
covers their,
ERAs, yes,
it covers their benefits, everything.
right. That's what you budgeted for.
Yeah, that's what we budgeted for was the EREs and wages.
So when we hire these guys, do they sign an agreement that they are on a grant, and if the grant goes away, they could go away? Do they know that?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Crosby has a comment.
Yes, Mr. Crosby.
EREs do not cover unfunded pension liabilities for the associated pensions,
It doesn't?
but not for the tier one. But I just thought
Okay,
I'd put, there is a little bit of a difference there, particularly with the tier one. I just put that out there for your information, sir.
All right.
Are these
Are
guys,
these typically tier one hires?
I bet you the captain and the sergeants are.
Yeah, captain, sergeants probably, but even sergeants, because tier one is what, 2012 and prior. So we have a young department. I'm obviously a tier one, but a lot of our
Not that
sergeants
you're an
are,
old guy.
but a lot of our sergeants were hired after 2012, so they'd
So you
either
don't
be
know.
tier two or, so I don't
Yeah,
know at this
that-
point.
You would know, right? Oh. Sorry, Miss Graham.
Forgive me, Mr. Chair and members of the board. It would depend on whether or not we are bringing in folks that have already been in the public safety retirement system.
Oh, if they're a cop somewhere else, for example.
Correct.
Ah,
Correct.
they get grandfathered in when they come over.
That is correct.
Okay. And you wouldn't know offhand. That's all right. I'm just.
Right, due to the fact that we don't even inquire whether or not they have been previously part of the pension system when we do applications.
So for my own self-knowledge, is there a way that we could find that out and then find out what the cost differential is if they are tier one? The
Do
impact,
we know?
It would be complicated.
it would?
Because we don't know who's going to be going into those
But
positions.
no, you already said, you guys already said it's a continuation, so you already have to,
Please.
sorry.
Mr. Chair, yes. It is continuing, but that doesn't mean that
It's not the same guy?
it's not, it might not be the same guys, and we're constantly moving personnel around, and a lot of those positions, they'll be in those positions for a while, but we do move positions, so it's kind of a case-by-case basis, and we could let you know, and I don't have that information.
No,
I have to go through our finance team and figure that out.
so when this grant comes in, and I guess this is a continuation of the grant that was 3 years ago, is it for the same positions, or when the grant comes in, you may move them around, but initially it's a grant, say this is for these specific positions, or does it give you a lot of leeway to change?
If I understand you correctly, I think.
Could you go with
that
eight
there's some
guys
respect,
and
yeah.
2 captains and 5 sergeants versus, or could you go, that's what she's asking. Could you change do you have the flexibility to change?
Yes,
the
there's
mix?
flexibility there.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to
It's
be
really a salary, it's an amount for,
for
however-
salaries and EREs, yes.
okay.
So for our
Mhm.
benefit going forward, and I know not necessarily this fiscal year, but starting in July, I think that any grants after July that we accept, the offset has to include any impact to the general fund that it comes out of the grant, unless the grant precludes it and requires us to match. But going forward, not this one, but
Mhm.
after starting July 1st, the grants have to pay for everything. There shouldn't be
Including
any,
the unfunded liability.
including all the unfunded liabilities.
Let's take a look at that. and see how we
Mr.
can
Chair,
make that
Crosby has further
clear.
comment.
Mr. Crosby.
Yeah, in my opinion, it wouldn't be prudent to pick and choose personnel for this based on whether they're tier one or not for consideration of potential age discrimination problems.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, well, that wouldn't be us that do that. That would be the sheriff's department that
Well,
does
We're
that.
all in.
No, they choose the bodies though. We don't choose the bodies.
Right, but you're saying, if I understand what you're saying, if a person,
Whatever the full
whatever
cost.
the full cost of that person
Correct.
is, needs to be
Yes,
calculated.
if it comes to us and then, at the end of 3, or do they say, well, this was a grant for this much, but by the way, you have to pay so much. We should know that so that when we're looking at the total budget.
Right.
So that's what we're just saying, like, to be aware of what we would be responsible, because a grant seems, most people think it covers everything, always, and it doesn't.
So like we were
necessarily.
talking with the vehicles, right? So you get a vehicle, the grant pays for the vehicle, but it doesn't pay for the insurance, the maintenance, all the other stuff that goes with it, right? So we end up eating and everybody likes to buy new vehicles, but then the legacy costs of those vehicles bite us in the rear end downstream. So it's the same thing with personnel. I don't mind, approving grants if we're going to get something out of it, but let's maximize the use of that grant to make sure that all of our costs are covered if possible, unless the grant prohibits it, which some do. They say you got to pay the
And
difference.
I don't know if this.
Well,
one does, but-
you'll get away with it this time because it's before July 1st. But I'm just saying after July 1st, any grants that come in that have budgetary impact need to be reviewed for the full budgetary impact.
Hey, Mr. Chair, I don't know if it helps, but if you have all these deputies or people that are being put in these positions are already being paid by general fund, then we move them over into the grant. So that's a savings to the general
No,
fund.
I got you.
And then, but I understand what you're saying about
If we're going to put the grant down and that grant is going to cover the cost of a full-time deputy, then it should cover the cost of a full-time deputy. If the grant permits that, then we should maximize that.
Yeah.
And because you, I'm sure, would not want to have additional pension liability so that one day when you retire, your pension fund's not bankrupt, right? So you want
Right.
to, so that's what I'm talking about.
No, I got you.
We have gotten to the point where we have not paid, this is my personal opinion.
Mhm.
I don't know if Mr. Crosby, he's like a guru on this, he can chime in, but the pension liability thing is a problem for me. I don't like that unfunded liability. And I think we really need to work hard at getting that covered so that we are fully funded. So that when these guys retire, and if I understand the way that the system works, because I'm in a similar system, the money generated by the payments we pay into the pension fund, both from the employee and the match from the county, is invested to generate revenue to perpetuate the fund. And if that money's not in the fund to invest, it doesn't make money to grow the fund. So by underfunding the pension fund, we by default underfund the future pension of all these guys that are going to retire. So that's what I'm getting at. If we have a mechanism to continue to fund the pension and fully fund the pension, we should optimize that fact
Mhm.
for the tier one guys, even the other, Sure.
All of it.
yeah, all of them that are going to tap into it eventually. So that's what I'm getting at. So if we can do it, the grant lets us do it going forward. Let's do it. You got a comment?
Mr. Chairman, I have a
Crosby?
question for Mr.
Sure.
Jerd.
Go for it.
Okay. Mr. Jerd, I'm looking at the language for item number 10, and it has the word, well, I'll just read it here. It says, Cochise County Sheriff's Office to enhance law enforcement services to deter, apprehend, prosecute, so on and so forth. So I wonder, what does this mean, deter, D-E-T-E-R?
Yeah, that's a good question. How do you deter?
By what we're doing right now, by being out in the. Yeah,
Physical presence.
yeah.
So if I see a cop, if I see you there, I'm not going to go.
Yeah, if you're sitting on a corner that's frequently
Being out
used
on-
for drug
being-
dealing, you sit there across the street and then they realize, oh, it's probably not a good spot to sell drugs.
And yeah, or pick up or do whatever you're going to do.
Okay.
Well, the reason why I ask is goes back to our previous meeting where Mr. Jerd was sitting behind me, and local border support, and we are talking about the border and justification for a grant, which we're all happy to have, that has to do with the border. And so when it says deter, I'm thinking prevent illegal entry, but that is not what that means. Is that
No.
correct, Captain Jerd?
As far, Supervisor Crosby, as far as you referenced that last meeting, Commander Watkins he wanted to let you know he's took those statements seriously. He is looking into ways to how we fulfill that vision, and we're looking into ways to do that.
Gotcha. I get, this is just like parking at the median on a highway to get people to slow down, right? It's not just running radar. The fact that you're there, people see the police car, they slow down.
Right. Our CIT, our criminal interdiction team, they're out there stopping cars and looking, trying to deter this type of
Okay.
activities so that don't come to Cochise County to pick up humans and drugs. And that's their main mission, is to, under my understanding, that's deterring that type of activity.
And
I
then how about
understand.
the-
Thank you. And I'm also, as I mentioned before in the previous meeting, I'm very grateful for all the dope and illegal aliens that are prevented from entering, especially, and for those that are apprehended and returned. I'm not very grateful for those that are apprehended and allowed to continue in, like what we had for the previous 4 years.
Yeah, that's not their fault. That's the other guys in DC. The thing that I'm getting at is now that we get these guys, then what happens? Do we get additional money for the courts as well to prosecute all these guys that you guys scarf up?
That's in, under this grant. I don't know if we're getting it under this grant or not.
Well, you said 120,000 for depositions, right? Maybe I
For-
don't, depth
For jail.
for jail. Okay.
Yes.
And so
Yeah,
it
that's-
does-
Yeah, I'm talking about, because then we have the impact,
Yeah,
the,
the
the civil defense, or not civil defense,
indigent defense.
indigent defense fund that
Right,
the county
yeah.
pays for out of our general fund as well.
That is a trickle down effect, yeah.
So that's,
So we keep fighting.
not that I'm trying to deter them from scarfing up guys selling and running
Well,
drugs.
just to continue to.
But again, we get
work
funded for this,
funding.
and then there's a side
It is a
impact,
challenge.
side impact to some other part of the budget.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I'm cool. Anybody else? Any questions?
No, sir. Thank you,
All
Captain
right, Thank
Jerd.
you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right.
Number 11 is the memorandum of understanding for Allo Fiber for broadband equity access deployment program, the BEAD program. Dan Coxworth is here, and Joe has also been working on this project for quite a while. So they're here to tell you more about it and where the funding's coming from. But
Do you want?
we'll defer to Joe.
Okay. Oh, Joe. Oh,
Yeah, so this is, we went out for a proposal last year. Allo was selected on the proposal for the funds to help extend broadband throughout the county.
and this is wireless?
No,
Fiber, right?
no, this is most
Fiber.
likely fiber. Yeah, no, this is
Fiber.
fiber.
Okay,
We-
okay.
We
All right.
said it had to be fiber on this one.
Okay. All right.
So this is to help with the BEAD funding grant that's out there right now that people are going after to help match that. And if it doesn't, if they aren't selected as a match, we will work together to come up with another project where that $2 million will be used to help internet throughout the county or somewhere in the county.
And the 2 million comes from the local assistance and tribal consistency funds, which were funds from the federal government as revenue replacement that we received. It's a long journey for those funds to get to us, but they finally did get to us. They were part of the ARPA legislation, but separate from the ARPA funds. And they have a different name, Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Funds. We received about
Love the
5.8.
names.
I know.
Yeah. Okay.
And we received about 5.8 million, 2 million for we could use towards this, and 3 million we've already allocated for the county ERP project. So,
ERP stands for,
Enterprise Resource Planning.
so
It's the HR and finance system.
these particular funds are very flexible in nature from the federal government because they considered revenue replacement. So we can use them for any purpose.
All right.
Okay.
Number 12.
12 is a lease with the U of A for the Cooperative Extension Program. It's getting formalizing what we've been providing them already.
So they lease from us?
Correct. It's a no-cost lease as part of the,
So they have, I don't know if it's an office that they use for storage in the Douglas County building.
that's
Is that what this is?
correct.
They used to have people in that office to help the Douglas community, and I guess they've all been taken out. So now it's just to store And this is one thing I would ask you. I mean, I didn't realize until I was there yesterday, there are unfinished rooms in the county building. When the county took over from the government, from the city of Douglas, and I guess took over the renovation of the building, they left a lot of rooms that are empty that could be used for storage. I'm just wondering, have we thought down the road? I know Seagull used to have an office there. They don't anymore. The sheriff does. Okay, so those are county entities. But maybe like leasing it out to people or maybe getting some rent, because when you walk in, they're right next to the county health clinic. There's this, it just looks terrible. I mean, maybe they could do something. Could we look at storing if they're just using it to store? Or do they plan to use it to have people in there?
My understanding is they plan to use it to have people in there for this space that we're talking about.
Okay.
The other spaces you're talking about that is still unfinished. It just hasn't been a priority for something that we need to use yet. And so
Okay.
we haven't put the funds forward to finish it.
Because if we just want to store stuff, I would say let's store it in those because they're pretty sound. They're just concrete rooms. But if they plan to put people in there, then that would be nice because right now it looks pretty, it just doesn't look right. It's a beautiful lobby and then you've got, it just looks like a mess. So.
We'll take a close look at what you're referring to there.
Yeah. So I think they have the storage underneath the stairwell and then an office that they're using for storage right next to the clinic. I just think that we could use it for better, if it's just a store. Now, if they're going to actually put people in there, I'd be happy to have that happen because they used to have people there. And is that something that we can require? That if you want this prime space, then we want you to have people in there. If you decide you don't want to have people in there, then we can charge you for storage somewhere else because they pay us, or is this just a swap?
It's a no
swap?
cost.
No
Yeah,
cost.
it's no cost because the ARS says as a cooperative extension, the county has to
Okay, so then they
provide space for their budget.
we could give them a space to store, if that's what they want to use it for, because I think they've been storing for quite a while.
I'll have a conversation with them and find out what their long-term plan is there
Okay.
to push for
Thank
people
you.
there.
All right, then number 13. So why do we do this before the budget?
So open enrollment begins April 1st. And that so we need to set these rates for employees so that we can prepare for open enrollment. And then once open enrollment closes, we know what our census is in the various plans and we can budget for those benefits in our annual budget.
Okay, with regard to the rate structure, what control do we have over that?
So you have control over how much the employee pays versus the employer. So we are recommending through our presentation on this that the rates for the employees stay the same. We're not seeing much of an increase this year on either side.
Is it a percentage or a fixed amount?
It's a it's a fixed amount per pay period,
Regardless of salary.
regardless of salary. Correct.
It's not a percentage of salary.
Correct. And we have the various plans that our Human Resources Director, Jennifer Graham, will go through in her presentation.
Why do we not do percentage of salary? Why is that? Why is that?
I have an answer to that question. It's never been,
Isn't that like
It's
more
always
beneficial
just
to the employee if they're making 20,000 versus somebody's making 80,000?
It's the same.
It's the same. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it-
right, but the cost of the plan itself is the same regardless of what the employee is making.
Yeah, but I don't want to
So we
sound,
might put more pressure on other,
yeah, I got you. I was just curious because I'm used to a different setup.
yeah.
That's what I'm getting at. So it's just, I'm not trying to upturn the system. I'm just curious
Yeah,
to
no,
understand because depending on the company or whatever, they have different tiered systems. It's just, there's just tiers that cover this stuff. So I just.
so we have different medical plans like the EPO exclusive.
You have
provider
HSAs, high deductibles,
organization.
you have.
We have high deductible plan and we have EPO buy-up. So we are recommending a 5% increase for the EPO buyout participants. That is where the majority of our high medical claims come in. So there's a benefit to people.
Is there a briefing that's going to go with this?
Yes. So she has a PowerPoint presentation that's attached to Agenda Quick. And she
Mr. Chair?
lay out each of those.
Mr. Crosby?
Is our friend Ms. Graham with us this morning?
Yes, she is. She's standing at the
Okay.
microphone.
Excellent. So I remember over the last few years, there was a desire to get employees to change from one plan to another plan that was going to be lower cost to the taxpayers. I believe that is what Ms. Gilman was probably just referring to. And I wonder if we could get a brief overview of what that plan was and if that plan is working to get employees to change to plans that are a lower cost to the taxpayer.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Supervisor, we are seeing a trend towards the high deductible plan, which is the plan that we would like employees to move towards. And the fact that our high claims members do tend to be part of the buy-up plan is one of the reasons why we are placing an increase this year. And our hope is that this will again continue to move them towards the high deductible plan.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Ms. Graham.
But of course, sir, thank you.
Okay. All right.
That's the agenda after the discussion of the Legislative Policy Committee that you'll have tomorrow.
How about future work session items?
I have a comment, sir.
Mr. Crosby?
Okay, yeah, we got a work session coming up at 3 o'clock, and I would be very much obliged if my colleagues would try to go over that presentation material, which myself and Ms. Lowenheim have been working on the last couple days, and try to get familiar with it, because it would probably be preferable for you to ask me questions after you read all that instead of me trying to make a presentation due to my present circumstances.
I got you. I got you.
And then
Thanks,
are
sir.
you asking about also future?
Yeah, if either you or Mr. Crosby have so I have an item I want to put on a work session. I don't know if you want to.
I only do.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so it's the port of entry.
Port of entry, okay.
Right. I just met with some investors today that actually for 18 years have invested in Douglas, and they are all from DC. And they were talking about there's some high military interest in Cochise County and in the port of entry. And I have some, actually, here's a booklet for you that they gave me to give to you.
Okay.
And it is very interesting. It was a quick meeting, and I think
And she'll throw the other one on your desk, Mr. Crosby.
yes. And I think it'd be really great to understand because I think it's all going to tie in.
Do you want to invite them to the
Yes.
meeting? So
Yeah.
you would need to get Ms. Gilman
I'll give you, yes, and then maybe the end of March sometime. And then I would think also it'd be great to kind of get all the stakeholders, so have everyone in the county, like the engineering, Watkins and Dan and all them here. Because one thing that I'm seeing is that the more that we have everyone who's involved in this port of entry at the table, the information, so ADOT, I would say ask them if they would come, and also GSA.
Dan left. Okay. What I
Mr.
wanted
Chair,
to-
I have a comment with
Sure.
regard to Ms.
Sure.
Gomez's work session item, that it would be nice, in my opinion, to talk about railroad in
Yes.
such a meeting if that is part of what Ms. Gomez would like, because railroad is what we are missing compared to Nogales. And there is an existing railroad bed
Yes.
that goes both north and south from Douglas up to Benson, as well as an east-west one that goes from El Paso to roughly Portal.
And I remember we had the railroads until there was that little something in the San Pedro River that made them shut it down. So that was part of the beginning of the end for Douglas. So yes, that and BDI, and I would even think maybe the sheriff's off, Sheriff Downey was talking about his talks with Washington, D.C. and what they want to do with bringing, I guess, federal training at Cochise College, because I think it all ties in.
Okay.
So if we could do that.
That would be separate, I guess, right?
You think so?
From the port of entry, yeah.
Well, but he was talking about
Railroad.
and legal immigration and that.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. So the railroad's related to the port and the infrastructure, the investment, that's all related to the port. But I mean, training federal officers at the Douglas Community College, I think is different.
He was talking about other kind of interests in the federal government as Cochise County being a hub for what the president is wanting. So maybe it is two separate ones.
You guys don't know anything about that, right, do you?
You?
No, okay.
Okay. So then let's do the one and then maybe later on we talk about what the federals on the law enforcement are going to possibly do.
More.
Yeah, as that develops more. But this is all poised right now because there's all these investments that are being, well, they've had it for 18 years. I think it's like around millions. So I think that would be good to get ADOT, GSA. So we're all talking, we can all get the same message. So when we go out, I know the city of Douglas is with their consultants going to go to DC the end of April. So we're all talking the same message. We just are able to,
Bring
get
everybody
them.
together.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So for me, I'd like to get a special work session. I wish Dan was here, but so the Ocotillo Road Trace Alamos Community Association wants to come in and speak with the three of us at the same time. They would like to have an opportunity to brief us on their concerns of things that are going on out there as a whole versus just talking to me. They want to talk to Ms. Gomez and Mr. Crosby as well. And of course, have Mr. Coxworth there. But I don't think a formal like meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking just like a work session where we all sit here and then they're allowed to come up and talk and make it just like a special work session if you need to, not necessarily part of the routine just a work session sometime in March as well for them to come in and brief us on their concerns
Okay.
and issues, 30 minutes to an hour. So I've been getting lots of emails on it. I'm like, we need to figure something out there. So one way or the other. So give them a chance to make their case, and then we could.
On a totally another thing too, maybe in April, I know the Eastern Arizona counties are going to DC in March 1st. And it's this huge concern about the Mexican gray wolves. And so
You mean the chubby coyotes?
these guys are unbelievable. They're killers, man. They
I
run the
know.
cattle to death and don't even eat them. And it's like 200 plus cattle that have already been killed. And so there's a whole thing that's going on about how, I guess they released a female and a male north of Douglas that's doing all this damage. And it came from the San Carlos Reservation. And now I think the administration is thinking of taking them off the endangered species, which means that they won't get funded for all the cattle that's killed.
But you
So-
can hunt them.
But that's what I said, so can they go and do that? And they were like, oh, don't tell anyone, they're like, don't want that to happen.
If they delist them, they're considered a predator in
Yeah,
Arizona.
exactly.
Federal fur-bearing predators are open season.
So I think there's going to be a lot of,
Okay.
what do I want to say? A lot of aftermath of this. And one thing I think I mentioned in another meeting we were at that,
We're gonna
Several
get a lot of Yellowstone and wolves floating down rivers going on.
looking at your face.
Yeah.
But the ranchers also want to, I think if we had some kind of a session, like informal, but they'd want to come and talk to us too about,
And who would that be?
like probably Malpai organization, John Ladd, Prince's, the Glens, those, all of them.
They like to.
To just have there used to be that
encourage.
Public Lands Assembly or Public Lands Advisory Committee. They used to, remember Dan, we had set up for a while back and it was dismantled. They like to see that kind of thing come back because there's going to be a lot of issues with BLM land, forest land. And I guess there is a group that's trying to reduce grazing, from the ranchers being able to graze on public land. So I think there's going to be some real key issues that are going to be coming up.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll see what we can put together.
Well, Tom just went off. I was going to say if he had anything he wanted to do future works. I know Mr. Crea got with you because he talked to Mr. Rusing, right? Did you got that with?
Yes, we're
Yeah.
good.
All right. That's the only other thing I can think of.
There he is.
What's that?
There's Mr. Crosby.
Oh, there he is.
Hey,
Mr.
Mr.
Crosby,
Chair.
do you have any
it-
agenda items that, other than the ones you got like for today, any other future ones you'd like to throw in?
Just to continue off what Madam Gomez was saying regarding wildlife, it has come to my attention that our state wildlife officer, has a very important job, which is reducing the number of diseased animals. So that has been defunded to some degree. So I'll try to collect more information on that and perhaps put it together with what Ms. Gomez has in mind.
Is that our animal control people? Is that somebody on the sheriff's office?
Is not county, and I could
Oh, it's
think of
not
his
county.
name if I thought about it long enough. But I'll try to put together some more information about that. Maybe he's going to get refunded before we even talk about it more. So I haven't talked about it to anybody for a week.
Are you familiar with this, sir?
Yeah, Al Tomlinson he's works for USGA on the federal side. We pay some of his salary. I guess they pay some of the salary. But he is basically a person when we're having livestock predator issues, he goes out and neutralizes those
So is
folks.
he the one that would
He-
decide?
He's the professional hunter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's a professional hunter.
I got to get to know that guy.
And he is
I'll do it for free.
he lost
So
his
you know-
job at Trump for a week. He's back on board.
Okay.
They're all fine.
So let me
yeah.
ask you something. Is he the gentleman that would decide whether or not the Mexican gray wolf had killed the cattle and then reports it to the Phoenix board, and then that's how they decide if a rancher gets reimbursed?
No,
So that's a totally
he
different
wouldn't.
thing.
He would not be involved in that.
Okay.
That's all.
He does depredation.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Right on the head.
Okay.
Damn,
All
wanna
I
get
can
in.
see is the left arm of our speaker. Is that Mr. Alinen?
I'm sorry, Mr. Crosby. Yes, it is.
Okay. Hey, your left arm looks great.
Okay.
Your left arm looks great.
Thank you.
Thanks for that. Good information. I appreciate that.
And just to answer your question, the meeting with the attorney Rusing is Tuesday, the 25th at 2 p.m.
Oh, cool.
So
All right. That's after our regular meeting. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else, Ms. Gomez?
That's it.
Mr. Crosby, anything else?
No, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Anything from staff?
just a reminder too, on the 25th, prior to our regular meeting, we'll have the demands for the library, flood, and jail district as separate meetings still.
Okay, that'll be
Those-
before the regular meeting.
Right.
Okay,
We
okay,
just
cool.
then go to the regular meeting.
All right. All right, well, with that, we will adjourn. Thank you all.